Arianna Villanueva. I currently live in Chicago and I've been in United States for about 9 years, almost 9 years. I came here from Venezuela, born and raised in a family with a lot of different mixes, right? My family is from Portugal. My grandparents were immigrants to Latin America. Then we grew up kind of sharing this bond over immigration trauma. I think it's in our generation.
Yeah.
Um, my parents are very young and they also immigrated here to the States. They actually came here first than me.
Oh, interesting.
And I moved to Canada when I was about 16. And I moved there. I was 16 years old, recently graduated from high school, and my parents sent me to Canada as like an exchange student. And they were like, you have to learn English. The situation in Venezuela is not good, and we foresee English being such a skill for you that's going to help you in your future. And I was in between mad and not understanding the whole scope. I mean, 16, just certainly don't even know what you want to do, but I went with the flow, moved to Canada by myself, learned English.
Wow.
I came back to Venezuela and started college at around 17 years old. Very young. Definitely, my life has been very different than people in America. Just starting by the fact that I started
Yeah.
very young, and then I have had a very successful career work wise. Right, when you see it on paper, you think, oh my God, well, this person is not grieving.
They're
Is
just fine.
great.
Yeah.
Um, but there was a lot of change at the time that my parents decided to move. So imagine just like the grief of seeing your family completely split up. So
Yeah.
I was raised with 11 cousins, my younger brother, and my entire family. So 11 cousins, that's six aunts,
Yeah.
and a huge family. We got together every Sunday. That was a tradition, go to my grandma's and be all together, birthdays and everything in between. And now I have two cousins in Ecuador, one cousin in Australia, two cousins here in the States, some other family in Chile, Argentina, Spain, you name it.
Yeah.
So that was initially, I think, like the first cousin that left to Australia was like, what is happening? We're crumbling. So
Yeah.
you start seeing the big family reunions being now just a couple of family
Smaller
members,
and smaller. Yeah.
and then your cousins and family kind of disappear because now I understand they are grieving too. They are going through that transformation as well. So they kind of separate, they shut down, they focus on surviving that change. And you're like, well, now what is my family? So with that, friends started going too.
Yeah.
And I went through a lot of denial in those years and I said, no, I'm staying here. We can fix this. I was part of the political movement, the student union. We got this. I was vice president of the student union at college. Like I protested. I did throw Molotov cocktail bombs and kick gas bombs for the military. It was wild.
Intense. Yeah.
Yeah. But and I was like, yeah, we can change. Like I've always like been this person of thinking we can change society, we can change through
Yeah.
education. I went into like the poorest areas in the country to teach them about economy because that's what I study.
Yeah.
And because I study in a public school, it's required for you to go to do community service. Uh, that's like the way you pay back. So my community service was teaching in very like poor areas how inflation, exchange rate, and all of that actually affects them the most.
Yeah.
That was beautiful, but there was a moment in which I said, okay, my family is not here, my friends are not here, and I'm giving my entire youth to something that I really don't know if it will pay
Yeah.
off. I need to seek self development, and it's not here. And that's when the bomb hits your stomach, and you say, oh, well, so I have to run away from home. This is
Oof.
how do I do this?
How do I do this? Yeah.
Um, So with that, I had a lot of support. My support system was very strong, and they said, "Yeah, you gotta leave." So I applied for grad school in the States. That was my avenue. I was too old to be part of a family member in terms of legal immigration, so I
Yeah.
had to do it all on my own.
On your own. Yeah.
So I applied to grad school. Luckily, I made it to grad school, and then in a matter of 4 to 6 months, I packed my entire life in
Phew.
2 suitcases. That's
Wow.
what is allowed in the airline, right? Two
Yeah. Yeah.
suitcases of how many pounds? I think it's 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Everything that I could put in, and I'm gone.
Phew.
And with that is the last time that I saw my country, that I saw my city, that I saw my mountains, my smell the food and taste what I was 24. So
Yeah.
for 24 years, that was my day in, day out, my reality, my environment. And all of a sudden you just take off, and I haven't been back since.
Wow. Wow.
So I think that in that moment, you you start thinking and say, okay, I abandoned all this. So you have this perpetual nostalgia of what home is,
Yeah.
because it will never be the same. And can I come back? I can probably come back, but then I'm sitting here in the middle and say, I'm a stranger over there.
Yeah.
After 8 years speaking
Yeah.
another language, developing my career here in the States, so I'm a stranger in Venezuela, but I'm also not fully belonging to
Yeah.
America. So
Yeah.
you feel like you're kind of a
What do you call
panda.
home? Yeah. What do you call
Yeah.
home at that point? Yeah.
So yeah, this became more home for me because, well, my parents are here, my
Right.
brother's here. Um, then a couple of cousins moved here. So, oh wow, now my family circle is slightly bigger.
Yeah.
But for my profession and my job, I decided to move to Chicago, so I'm slightly further away again. And ultimately, you learn a couple of things. One, home is what you have with you, and you
Yeah.
make home yourself.
Yeah.
It's I want to say that it's everything, right? It's the coffee, it's the smells, it's the view. But once you have to like get rid of all of that, you come to realize that you build home inside of
Yeah.
yourself. That was a learning moment for me. And one thing that happened to me, and I will never forget this, because then reading and getting more informed about it, I understood that, or I learned that trauma also hides in your body,
Yeah.
right? And it shows in terms of health and even mobility. And there are ways that you can release trauma that last like a 30-second cry session, that you get desperately crying,
Yeah.
and then you're like, I don't understand what this happened to me, and I'm done.
And I'm done. Yeah.
And I have never experienced that, but I will never forget, because it was my birthday too, when I got my American passport. And I don't know how to explain to you why this was such a big deal. I have been dealing with this legality of immigration for about 5 years.
Yeah.
But on my birthday, I went to check my mail, and there was an
There
envelope
was.
from the government. And when I opened that, and I saw, like, I actually saw my picture stamped in a passport that said United States of America, I incontrollably, I had no control of my body. I just cried for a full minute. And I was in the car because my mailbox is like was outside of
Yeah.
my house, like very far. So I went, and I was sitting in the car. My husband is looking at me like I have two heads. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm crying like this, but
Yeah.
this is it. And after a minute, it was gone. And I was like, wow. Then later on, I learned that that's a way to release trauma.
Sure. And I
Um,
mean, probably not even realizing like what, I mean, if you could like maybe now, but at the moment, probably couldn't even figure out what emotion that was. Like, was that joy, relief, sadness, all
or
the
all of the
above?
above. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
exactly. So you really don't know if what you are, but I think that you always have this sense of not fully belonging somewhere, right? You start facing things like your culture is different, your sense of humor is different.
Yeah.
Um, Even like it took me a little bit to be funny in English, not gonna lie. Um, and you cannot fully express certain things because people around you simply don't understand
Yeah.
it. So you are also releasing and grieving parts of yourself that you understand that you might not be the same person, you might not be or like even the same things just because you don't have access to that,
Right.
right? I always think with a lot of nostalgia, like in my city in Caracas, you can open your window and have a bird feeder, and you have birds coming like parrots and like very colorful, and they come to your balcony, and well, that's not happening
That's
anymore.
not happening in Chicago. No.
Totally
It
not.
would make the news in very, very big fashion if that were the case. Yeah.
Yeah, and even food, right? Like you sometimes don't find the same ingredients or the same experience. I remember going to the farmer's market, you get lettuce like literally from the ground and clean it and see the worms and everything. And here everything is just washed and
Yeah.
like overly produced. So it's just getting used to all of those things, and then
Yeah.
also used to the idea that the idea of home has changed and it will never come back,
Yeah.
separating from the entire family. Although I've been lucky to have my family closer somehow, and my family has the means to also travel and get together every other year or from time to time. So I cannot even think about the people that immigrate and have to stand in a line or in a cage
Yeah.
or not see their families or their sons for years, right? I think that I've been lucky and I'm grateful for that myself, but I also don't want to minimize because of that. I don't want to minimize the grieving and sadness that comes with being an immigrant.
Yeah. And I mean, there's another version of loss, right? And, one that we don't think of as far as the impact. And in your case, having this closeness to family. And I mean, unfortunately, you see that a lot just here in the States anyway. I mean, I think my wife and I have conversations at least once a week of, the fact that here you have all these people, even when we do live close, even if it's just like a state over, and it's like a chore to say, look, well, like you feel like you're wrong in asking the question, are you going to be here for Thanksgiving? Or that you haven't seen them in 2 years, and like I said, they live the state next door. That here in your case, like the extreme version of that you've got this closeness, and you've got this pattern of seeing everybody on Sunday, and then that's gone. And you're grasping for like how that happened, what where did you go wrong, or what could you have done. And then ultimately, I mean, for lack of better terms, like lost home, right?
Yep.
I mean,
And you will
and
be for all forever um nostalgic about it. Like sometimes
yeah,
I see a documentary about Venezuela or a song, or there are specific moments in which that pain comes back to your stomach and those tears come out
yeah.
inevitably.
Do you find yourself like constantly now searching for that definition of home? Like you said, I mean, you've got those things that like, that make it be that here, whether they're the typical sayings of like, home is where the heart is or whatever. But, do you find yourself now that you've like left what, truly was like where you felt like you belonged and where everybody was, this huge connection to family and loved ones, now that it's like behind you, like, do you feel that loss, like you're constantly having to chase it, just as if, loss of a relationship or a loved one? Like, do you feel the same kind of feelings as that, or no?
Partially. So it's not like I'm always seeking for home, because like once you come with the idea that that's not coming back, you certainly appreciate what you have around and you say, well, this is home, right?
Yeah.
And I got married in between, so I'm building my home, right?
Yeah.
My dog and everything else. But I think that what I've missed the most is the connection,
Yeah.
because the friendships, right? Because when you're older, it's harder to connect at a deep level. And those friendships that you think, that person you went to high school that you still talk to,
Yeah.
I just have them on Facebook or Instagram, and we talk from time to time. They are immigrants as well
Yeah.
in other places, so we just got just completely separated. So I think I'm always craving for those like meaningful
A
connections.
connection. Yeah. That's understandable. And in your case, versus like the loss of somebody, completely, it's like you get these like glimpses of it that you get to like hold on to. And then, like you said, I mean, you talk periodically, but it's like, it's not the
It's
same
not
it
the
was as
same.
what it is. It's almost worse, like it's like you wish that they were visiting hours, for heaven, and then like at the same time you realize that it's probably not a good idea because you're never going to move past like whatever or see what you should be seeing, and not to say that like being friends with those people isn't a good idea, but like you're constantly reminded of something in
Yep.
the past, and
Or
never get a
something I
chance to.
cannot have, right? Like,
Yeah.
I, when I got married in my wedding, two of my good friends just coincidentally were traveling to the States, and they made the case to go to Miami where my wedding was, and I was so fortunate. But there's
Yeah.
a million others that they got married or they had their first kid, and you know it through social media, and you see the pictures, and you're like, yeah, but like I don't have the means to go there, or they don't have the means to
Yeah.
go here. Before I could just like come home for dinner and
Yeah.
meet the family,
I'll see you
and that's just
tomorrow,
not
right?
possible.
Yeah. What I mean, if you're looking back, what would you say is the most challenging part of all this, and what, perhaps, somebody that doesn't really get grasp like what being an immigrant is, only just what we see unfortunately on the news. What's something that like you've experienced that you wish other people saw more clearly?
I think it's the fact that immigration is a decision that's very logical, and it's also very based on your fight or flight or survival, right?
Yeah.
You are looking, you are seeking for a better quality of life, or you're running away for threats. Like every experience of immigration is fully different. And I
Yeah.
think that people are quickly to judge on your language or on your inabilities to comprehend certain things
Yeah.
or things like that. And little people actually appreciate that we're here surviving, and that this decision, it's not like, oh my God, I'm just going to leave home. I'm just going to leave it all behind.
Right.
This is not a fun decision. So you are leaving behind so much that I see people judging people coming through the border or things like that. I'm like, they are trying to survive.
Live.
They're trying to seek better for their kids, for
Yeah.
themselves. They're not leaving home because they want to.
Yeah.
We don't want to leave home.
Yeah. Do you do
Nobody.
you do you find yourself, even just using that term, like, are you hesitant to even, call yourself an immigrant for fear of that judgment, or does it like the thought not even cross your mind? Like you feel like you're like, in a safe spot that you can say that.
I think at
Yeah.
the beginning I was trying very hard to hide my accent, to fit in, but there was a
Yeah.
point in which that is just such a heavy weight for any individual that I was like, I'm gonna just embrace this, and whoever
Yeah.
gets close to me has to embrace it with me.
Yeah.
But there are certain cases, more so when you're looking for a job or when you're trying to
Sure.
excel, like people don't realize I had a very successful career when I came back to America. None of what I did in my country, none of my biggest success are enough for what it's required here or even taking into account. So you start from the scratch.
Much. Yeah.
I know people that with PhD that had to come here and
Start
waitressing.
all over. Phew. Yeah. And we don't think about that, right? That
Yeah,
things
it's
don't necessarily
humbling.
match up, and maybe not even just match up, but we just kind of look at it and go, yeah, well, you're not from here, then that doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah,
and
or this is
and
not a global brand, so this is not enough, and you have to go to square one and start over.
so then what pulls you through? What has been like the guiding light or the guiding advice that you've kind of carried with you from the day you left to now that helps you not feel that weight of being judged as somebody who's an immigrant in a world where it seems like we're constantly trying to point the finger and the blame on somebody that's that.
Yeah, I think I am still learning how to to move past some of these things, but I
Sure.
think everything has been clicking in when I started doing more of a self work, right? Because
Yeah.
that need to fit in, to belong, also gets you into behaving of in ways that you normally wouldn't.
Yeah.
Or like I don't know, your people pleasing kicks in, and all your insecurities flourish. And the more internal work that I've been able to do, the more I have embraced who I am, and the
Yeah.
more or the stronger I've become into just breaking through those barriers.
Yeah.
But it is not easy, and I think most of the time I compartmentalize this feeling of not belonging and these fears into a space of my body. It's not the healthiest thing to do, and just
No.
didn't even think about it until I had it, quote unquote, all figured it out, like the job, the papers, the
And do we
things.
ever, right?
And then there was a moment in which I burnt out. I had to quit my job. I didn't know what was happening to me. And I said, I need to stop. So I started doing my internal work. I went to therapy, read a lot. I started my healthy habits, a morning routine, meditation, working out regularly. And I started embracing myself more and understanding that my identity, although it's judged, is mine.
Is yours. Absolutely.
And it's the
Beautiful.
only thing I have that is truly mine.
Just yours.